silent corridor. Blackwood High School had stood abandoned for years, looming on the outskirts of town. Its roof was on the verge of collapse. Cobwebs stretched across shattered windows, and rusted doors hung loosely from their hinges. Over time, it had become nothing more than a forgotten ruin. But the townspeople believed the school wasn't just abandoned, it was cursed. Jake, Emily, and Ryan had come that night to prove or debunk the legend. According to the old stories, those who entered never returned, but to them, it was nothing more than a fabricated ghost tale meant to scare off curious minds. As they pushed open the creaking doors, a heavy scent of mold and dust filled their lungs. The floor was littered with torn book pages, broken glass, and shattered desks. The dim corridors swallowed any light, leaving the corners shrouded in darkness. A thick silence blanketed the entire building. As they walked down the hallway, they stopped at one of the classrooms. On the dusty blackboard, an old message had been scratched into the surface. Most of the words had faded, but a few remained legible. "If you don't leave, it will take you too." A cold chill ran through them. The air seemed heavier now. Then, from the far end of the corridor, a faint creaking sound echoed. An old door was slowly opening, on its own. There was no wind. The school's windows were shattered, but inside the air was completely still. They cautiously approached the doorway, their flashlights casting long, trembling shadows. Inside, the classroom was empty. Dust swirled lazily in the dim beams of light. But on the blackboard, faded handprints were smeared across the surface, as if someone had desperately tried to write something before being stopped. Then, Emily felt something rush past them. A shadow, something dark and fleeting. But when they turned, there was nothing there. A creeping sense of unease settled over them as they pressed forward. But then, in a sudden, horrifying instant, Ryan was yanked backward. There was nothing behind him. No one had touched him. But an invisible force dragged him away. He let out a scream. Then a door slammed shut, trapping him in the darkness. Emily and Jake ran to the door, pounding on it, calling his name. But no response came. Only a whisper, seeping through the cracks of the wood. "It has him now." Panic set in. They had to get out. But when they turned back toward the entrance, it was gone. The school had changed. The hallway they had come through no longer existed. In its place stretched an impossibly long, dark corridor, one that hadn't been there before. The building was shifting. The walls trembled. Paint peeled away in curling strips. The structure itself seemed alive, twisting and sealing them inside. Something was coming. Footsteps echoed in the distance. Slow at first, then faster, closer. Jake grabbed Emily's hand. They ran. The only escape was a window at the end of the hall. Without hesitation, they lunged toward it, smashing through the fragile wooden frame. They hit the cold ground outside, gasping for breath. The icy air burned in their lungs. When they turned back, Blackwood High stood in eerie silence. The doors were shut, the windows were empty, and Ryan was gone. Emily, still trembling, pulled out her phone. That's when she realized Ryan's phone was still in her hands. The screen was on. A video was playing. The footage showed Ryan approaching the door, just moments before he was taken. But then, they noticed something chilling. Someone was behind him. A tall, dark silhouette. No eyes, no features. A shadow in human form. It leaned close to Ryan's ear and whispered something. Then the screen went black. Ryan was never seen again, and Blackwood High still stands. Some say, on quiet nights, If you listen closely, you can still hear the whispers in the halls. It will take you to